Judges ready?
Yeah.
Audience? My name is Nathan Barrett.
And my name is Alex Schlegel, and the title of our presentation is
The Revolution of Barbed Wire.
Get the Point?
Barbed wire will sweep across the plains like wildfire and change this land, society, economy, and your whole way of life forever.
No one messes with the law. Law of the open range.
You've got me right in the heartland.
The revolution started in 1873.
Hold on, partner. We need to start earlier. Oh, give me a home where the buffalo roam.
Yeah, there are millions of buffalo grazing in the Great American Desert.
The Great American Desert.
Yeah, the place between the Mississippi River and the Rocky Mountains was originally called the Great American Desert.
But it was not desert.
America figured that out soon enough. By the 1850s, we had gained the Oregon, California, and Deseret territories.
Oh, tell them about Manifest Destiny.
You missed the Preemption Act of 1841. It allowed settlers to occupy government land without buying it first, but having the opportunity to buy it later at a reduced price. This set the tone for future land deals.
Manifest Destiny was the belief that our country should stretch from sea to shining sea.
There was more to it than that. First, linking the East to the West would make it a stronger country. Second, those who occupy the West control it. And third, an agricultural economy utilizing the fertile lands of the prairie means a prosperous nation. But that part hasn't come up yet. That's the revolution.
After the gold rush, go west, young man, became something of a national motto.
The Oregon, California, and Mormon trails brought pioneers west, where they found that the Great American Desert was actually fertile grasslands.
It was populated with nomadic Indians and cattlemen. Frontier towns were popping up, and the cattlemen dominated the western economy.
Wait, how'd the cows get there in the first place?
Spanish conquistadors. Longhorns were hardy, but not good eating.
Oh, in the East, Europeans brought Angus and Heifers, which are good eating, but not hardy enough for the frontier.
We interbred them, and voila! The Texas Longhorn was born. Hardy and good eating. The cattlemen hired us cowboys to ride the herd and protect them. We learned our skills from the Mexican vaqueros. We lived the law of the open range.
Wait, the law of the open range wasn't even a law. It was never even written down. It was just a tradition that came from the government's practice of allowing cattle herds access to water and grazing on undeveloped or government land. A cattleman might own 10,000 cattle, but no land.
The law of the open range was a way of life for cattlemen and Indians. At first, settlers were mostly just passing through on their way to the west coast.
In Oregon, a married couple could get 640 acres if they improved it and farmed it for 5 years.
In 1861, the Civil War began, and the frontier troops were recalled, and America focused on survival rather than expansion.
In mid-1862, 2 vital acts were passed by President Lincoln that set our revolution in motion.
One of them was the Railway Act, which gave huge plots of land to the railroads so that they could link the east and west coasts.
The other was the Homestead Act, which gave you 160 acres if you could improve it and farm it for 5 years. This was open to all, well, almost all, black, white, immigrant, poor, even single women. Union soldiers got credit for time served. The only ones excluded from this offer was anyone who had taken up arms against the Union. The Confederates in the South were out of luck. 10% of the land in our country would be claimed.
3 years later, the Civil War ended, and the Army returned to the west. The call was clear. Where's the beef? The cattle industry became a key component in our nation's economy. Cattle drives were happening twice a year. One of the many trails was the Chisholm Trail, which went to Kansas City. Another was the Goodnight Loving Trail that went through Denver.
After the war, cartographers changed the name of the Great American Desert to better reflect popular views. They called it the Great American Plains. There was a greater call for farming and grains, and the target was these plains. The Homestead Act began carving up the open range, and we saw the rise of the farmer.
In 1869, the railroads met at Promontory Point in Utah, linking the east and west coasts.
Meanwhile, homesteaders were struggling. One report said it took $1.74 in fencing to go $2.34 in crops. Farming wasn't practical. Fences back east were either made of stone, wood, or hedge. This didn't work in the west.
And it didn't keep out our longhorns.
Back east it was herd law. Livestock owners were required to fence their livestock in, not farmers fencing them out.
Aw, the poor farmers. Law of the open range rules.
The stage was set for a revolution. That's where I come in. I'm Joseph Glidden, an Illinois farmer. I went to the 1873 county fair and saw a display by Henry Rose of a spiked piece of wood tied to a piece of wire. I went home and played with this idea, but with a barb and some twisted wire. I put it up around my wife's garden, and it worked. I applied for a patent in October 1873.
But you weren't the only one to see that display. Mr. Hayes applied for his patent 2 months after you did.
2 months make all the difference, you'll see. A partner and I hired a go-getter named Gates to be our salesman. We went right down to San Antonio and set up a barbed wire corral in the town center. Hurry, hurry, it's about to start. Our new barbed wire fence will stop a whole herd of longhorns right here. Place your bets, everyone. Here they come. Yeehaw! It worked, and we were swamped with orders. To keep up with demand, we joined with a smooth wire manufacturer. We finally had a product that was light as air, strong as whiskey, and cheap as dirt. Settlers loved us.
Cattlemen and Indians hated it. The Indians called it Devil's Rope. It cut off the buffalo's migration. They overgrazed the grassland, and it died off. And it interrupted trade routes and gathering trails. Some say that barbed wire finished off what the government had started with the reservations. Things were heating up on the range.
They were heating up in the courtroom, too. Gates, our salesman, quit and started his own illegal barbed wire company. He started the free wire movement, which encouraged moonshine makers to disregard patent rights. The fight became so heated that Thomas Edison, who had just received his patent for his new electric lamp, testified before the Supreme Court on our behalf. The Supreme Court ruled in our favor, and Hayes, Gates, and others had to pay damages and apply for a license to manufacture barbed wire. That was the end of the free wire movement, and I was declared the official father of barbed wire.
Meanwhile, the railroads were told that if they wanted cattle off their tracks, they had to fence it, but with an access every mile.
They tried wood, too expensive. So my partner had a brilliant idea. He let the railroads have a free trial of barbed wire. It worked and fenced from sea to shining sea.
That's not what we had in mind. Now there's barbed wire everywhere. How are we supposed to drive our cattle between the farmers and the railroads, fencing off their land and water?
Your cattle were contaminating our water.
The law of the open range states access to land and water as we need.
Not if it's my property and I fence it.
That's it. I declare war.
The fence cutting wars became a deadly game. Settlers on the railroad would put up barbed wire fences,
While we with masks and bandanas would go out and cut them down.
property rights.
Law of the open range.
Texas legislature finally stepped in and made it a felony to get a fence.
They also made it a crime to fence land you don't own.
Texas Rangers were called in order to enforce these new laws.
The days of the cattlemen were coming to an end. And it was you again, Joseph Glidden, with the final nail in the coffin.
I bought a huge tract of land in the Texas Panhandle and fenced it in. I successfully raised cattle with a lower overhead than open-range cattlemen. The first range was a success.
Law of the open range was dead.
Aww, those poor cowboys.
It was either become a jolly rancher or ride off into the sunset.
Till you hit a fence.
Cattlemen had to revolutionize and embrace the devil's rope. With the railroads expanding, the cattle drives were over. The life of the cowboy would change forever. All from a twist of a wire. For Plains Indians, barbed wire put an end to nomadic life. For cattlemen and cowboys, it replaced open ranges with ranches.
For settlers were granted power. Power to protect and control the land, making homesteading feasible. It transformed the Great American Plains into America's breadbasket. Today, this breadbasket not only feeds the U.S., but it also feeds global populations. Barbed wire not only changed the landscape of the American West, but it also revolutionized our country and its people too. The great Western historian Frederick Jackson Turner said, "Our country was formed in 3 waves. First, the pioneers. Second, the farmers who owned the land. And third, industrialization of large farms and cities." Barbed wire in the West was what made the second wave viable and was an integral part in the third.
Today, cattlemen can still graze their cattle on public lands, but they have to have a valid permit.
And Colorado fence laws still make farmers hunt them out. Today, its uses have expanded. It's not only used to keep animals out,
It is used to keep people in. It is used in war, corrections, and
even as a fashion statement. This revolution of barbed wire can be seen in all of our lives today. Get the point? Ouch!
so why did you choose this topic?
Well, we got together one day and we were picking out a topic, and our school principal pointed us towards barbed wire. And after a few minutes of studying, we were stuck.
you actually go through and read all the law?
Yeah.
Did you? How long are they?
Pretty long.
Which one did you find most daunting?
It's a lot.
Yeah, which one was the longest?
Probably, I don't know, they're all about the same length. Those laws. I have them though.
Yeah, sure.
So what was your first step in researching the project? Where did you begin?
Well, we kind of got on the web and found some stuff online, and then we bought some books, and one of them was barbwire. It really pointed us in the right direction and got us started on our research.
And I had visited the barbwire museum in Scott City, Kansas, so that was a pretty fun experience. I wouldn't imagine how many rows of different kinds of barbwire. Where did we get the barbwire?
Online. This is actually really cool. It's not actually barbwire, but it's actually leather.
So there's no need for bandages, right?
Yeah. That would have kind of hurt. Ouch.
Barbwire's not too forgiving these days.
Yeah.
How would you specifically relate it to this year's scheme? Just in a very concise statement.
Well, first, it revolutionized kind of our entire perspective on everything in our valley. Where you can't go really like any 10 blocks without running into barbed wire somewhere. And then the reaction was kind of defense cutting wars. It had so bad of a reaction and so good of a reaction that those differences started a war.
And there are actually only 3 recorded deaths of fence cutting wars, but there are probably a lot more that the sheriff just said, I'm not going to record them.
Yeah. And it kind of reformed our way of thinking about kind of wars. Barbed wire is used quite a bit in wars. It's not only to keep animals out, but it also keeps people in.
It is used, let's see, I believe, if I remember correctly, they set up, like when they built the trenches, they had a perimeter of barbed wire out in front of the trenches, so that if somebody did manage to get close to the trenches,
It'd be really hard to get through that barbed wire.
yeah,
They would just have giant stacks and piles surrounding their entire trench.
So is there anything you'd like to tell us that we forgot to ask?
Barbed wire is awesome.
Came away liking barbed wire?
Yeah.
yeah.
Why?
Well, it kind of shaped our community. We come from a community with a lot of ranches, and then barbed wire kind of keeps those cows in line. Keeps them tamed.
And without barbed wire, we would have a lot of cattle just roaming everywhere, so,
Yeah.
yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Really well done.